Did you know you can control your emotions in just 12 minutes? Sounds unbelievable, right? But what if I told you that anger, fear, sadness, emotions that we often struggle with, only last 12 minutes in your body? Yes, 12 minutes. That's it. But here's the catch: if you don't manage them during that short time, these emotions can linger and affect your mood, and eventually, your personality. In this video, we're diving deep into the chemistry behind your emotions and how understanding this can unlock a peaceful and controlled life. You'll learn why your anger doesn't need to control you, why fear doesn't have to dictate your decisions, and why sadness doesn't need to shape your day. We'll explore the lesser-known truths about emotions that are scientifically proven, and I'll share practical techniques that will help you manage these fleeting emotions before they take over. Imagine living a life where you never let your anger or anxiety control you again. Stick with me until the end, and I'll show you how to break free from the emotional roller coaster and reclaim your inner peace. But first, welcome to Silence Journey, the place where mastering your mind is just a few steps away. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on videos that will change the way you think, feel, and live. Before we talk about how to control your emotions, let's first dive into how your body creates them. Emotions like anger, joy, and sadness are actually chemical reactions happening in your brain and body. When something happens in your environment, your brain releases certain chemicals, like hormones and neurotransmitters, that trigger specific emotional responses. Take anger as an example. When something stresses you out or makes you feel threatened, your brain releases stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These chemicals increase your heart rate, boost blood pressure, and prepare your body to either fight or flee. But did you know that these chemical reactions can also be triggered by things like insulin imbalances or lack of sleep? When your body doesn't produce enough insulin, for instance, blood sugar levels fluctuate, and this can lead to irritability or heightened emotional responses. Similarly, if you don't get enough sleep, your body produces more cortisol, which can make you feel more stressed or angry, even over small things. This is why you might snap at someone after a bad night's sleep or when you're hungry. But here's the interesting part: while these emotions like anger feel intense, they only last for about 12 minutes in your body. Yes, just 12 minutes. Once the chemicals are released, your body begins to balance itself out, and the emotional response starts to fade. This means that if we don't fuel the emotion, by reacting impulsively, for example, it will naturally pass. However, most of us tend to add fuel to the fire. We keep thinking about the situation that made us angry, and that triggers more chemical reactions, extending the emotional response. But if we learn to manage that 12-minute window, we can control how we feel, instead of letting our emotions take control of us. Before we talk about how to manage our emotions, let's look at something fascinating. All 6 of our basic emotions, anger, fear, hatred, surprise, joy, and sadness, are actually quite short-lived. They don't last forever. In fact, each of these emotions only lasts for about 12 minutes in our bodies. After that, our bodies naturally start to return to balance. Think of emotions like a fire. Imagine a small fire burning in front of you. It burns hot and fast, but if you don't keep adding fuel, like dry wood or oil, the fire will eventually burn out on its own. It's the same with emotions. Once the initial reaction happens, your body will naturally start to cool it down. For example, anger might flare up quickly if something triggers you, but once your body starts releasing those stress hormones, it can only last for a short time. Your body's chemicals, like endorphins and serotonin, will kick in after about 12 minutes, calming you down. The same happens with fear, hatred, or even joy. If you don't add more fuel to that emotion, it will fade naturally. This natural process of emotional balance is what helps us avoid being stuck in a bad mood. Your body knows how to bring you back to a neutral state, unless you keep stoking the emotional fire by thinking about the situation or reacting impulsively. If you don't manage it, you may extend the emotional reaction beyond the 12 minutes, turning it into a longer-lasting mood. By understanding the 12-minute rule, you can learn to recognize when you're in that emotional window and allow yourself to cool down instead of letting your emotions control you. Before we talk about how to improve your emotional control, let's consider what happens when we don't manage our emotions. Emotions like anger, sadness, or fear are natural reactions to events, but if we don't deal with them properly, they can turn into long-lasting moods. These moods don't just disappear, they can become part of who we are. For example, if we let anger linger too long, it doesn't just fade away, it becomes a part of our personality. If someone is constantly angry, they might be labeled as Angry Alex or Grumpy Greg. Over time, these labels stick, and others start to see that person as always angry, even when they're not. The same happens with sadness. If someone is perpetually down or unhappy, they could be called Sad Samantha or Melancholy Mike. People start identifying them by their emotions, and they become associated with that mood. This is where it gets tricky. When emotions turn into long-lasting moods, they start to shape how we see ourselves and how others see us. A person who constantly holds on to anger might find it difficult to experience joy because their emotional state is dominated by frustration. Similarly, someone who never manages their sadness might find it hard to feel motivated or hopeful. The problem with this is that these long-lasting moods don't just affect our relationships with others, but they also influence how we make decisions and navigate life. We start to act according to these moods. Angry Alex might react harshly in situations where calmness is required, and Sad Samantha might withdraw from opportunities or people because of their ongoing sadness. What's worse, these emotions, when left unchecked, don't just stay inside us. They start to define us. Instead of seeing a person as someone who experiences anger sometimes or feels sad occasionally, we begin to define them by that emotion. Oh, that's just how Alex is, he's always angry. This is a dangerous cycle because once emotions become part of our identity, it can be harder to break free from them. So, it's not just about managing that 12-minute window of emotion. It's about preventing those fleeting feelings from becoming the lens through which we view our entire lives. Before we talk about how to manage your emotions, let's dive into a simple yet powerful approach, the 12-minute challenge. When emotions like anger, fear, or sadness strike, your body is going through a chemical reaction. But here's the key, these emotions only last for about 12 minutes, and if you manage that window properly, you can prevent them from controlling you. So, how do you manage emotions during those crucial 12 minutes? One powerful technique is staying silent. When you're feeling overwhelmed by anger or fear, avoid speaking immediately. Silence is one of the most powerful tools for managing emotional storms. By staying quiet, you give yourself time to cool down. Silence stops your mind from feeding into the emotion and helps you regain control. Another helpful tip is to walk away from the situation. Take a brisk walk, even if it's just around your room or outside. Moving your body helps shift your focus away from the emotion and clears your mind. You can also take a shower. The feeling of water running over you can be calming, providing a reset for your emotions. A quick shower gives your body and mind the break it needs to cool down and reset. You can also try doing a small task. Whether it's tidying up your desk, making your bed, or organizing your bag, performing a simple, repetitive task can shift your attention away from the emotion. By focusing on something productive, you give your brain the chance to return to a more neutral state. Remember, the key to managing emotions effectively is understanding that the 12-minute window is all you have before the emotional storm fades. If you can use this time wisely, whether through silence, movement, or focusing on a task, you'll be able to regain control before the emotion takes over. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to stay calm and balanced, no matter what life throws at you. Before we talk about how mastering the 12-minute rule can help you in real-life situations, let's explore some common scenarios. Have you ever found yourself in an argument that escalates quickly? Or perhaps you've been caught in a stressful situation where emotions cloud your judgment. These are moments where managing your emotions can make all the difference. Imagine you're in a heated discussion with a colleague or a loved one. Your anger rises, and the situation feels like it's spiraling out of control. This is where the 12-minute rule comes into play. If you can pause and allow those initial 12 minutes to pass, through silence, taking a walk, or focusing on a simple task, you can prevent the argument from turning into a full-blown fight. By giving yourself that time, you create space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This approach also helps in high-pressure situations. Think about a time when you were faced with a tough decision under stress. Maybe you were worried about an important work project or dealing with a personal crisis. In these moments, emotions like fear or frustration can cloud your ability to think clearly. The 12-minute rule teaches you how to pause and reset. By taking a moment of silence or doing something to distract your mind, you give yourself the chance to make better, calmer decisions instead of reacting out of panic or stress. In fact, practicing this technique can help you avoid unnecessary stress altogether. If you know how to manage your emotions, you're less likely to feel overwhelmed by small setbacks or confrontations. Instead of letting anger or frustration take over, you can regain control and approach the situation with clarity. Encouraging you to practice these techniques is key. Whether you're facing an argument, a stressful task, or a decision that feels too heavy, remember that taking those first 12 minutes can prevent emotional overload. The more you use this strategy, the easier it becomes to stay calm and think clearly, even in the most chaotic moments. To recap, emotions, whether anger, fear, joy, or sadness, last for only 12 minutes in our bodies. Learning to manage these emotions in that short window is the key to preventing them from turning into long-lasting mood shifts that can affect our personality and relationships. By staying silent, breathing deeply, or shifting your focus through simple actions, you can regain control and avoid letting emotions take over. Next time you feel overwhelmed, remember the 12-minute rule. Stay silent, breathe, and give yourself time to cool down before reacting. With this practice, you'll be able to handle any emotional storm more calmly. If you found this helpful, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more tips on managing emotions and improving your well-being. Stay tuned for more content that can help you live a calmer, more balanced life.